Welcome to Fixed Income Insights. Today we're going to tackle a topic that comes up a lot. If you watch the financial news lately, you think that the debate is well settled and passive management always is better than active. We think if you apply that to all of your asset classes, you may be missing something. Because as you can see here, bonds are different. Sure, it's hard for active equity managers, especially in the large cap space, to outperform passive. But if you look at core or core plus bonds as an example, you can see that active managers actually outperform more than 3/4 of the time. Why is that? Was this a lucky decade? No, we believe there are reasons structurally why bonds truly are different. Those reasons are ones you're probably familiar with, but to quickly review, 1, it is really hard to replicate a fixed income index. 2, even if you could, we think that may not be the most optimal way to invest in fixed income. And then finally, 3, there's a lot of investors out there in bonds who are investing for reasons other than to maximize profit. So if we dig in a little greater detail for each one of those, why is it so hard to replicate a fixed income index? Take, for example, the S&P 500. If I gave you $10,000, you could go out and replicate the S&P 500 or many stock indices pretty easily, right? Go to your local brokerage, wouldn't even cost that much. Set it and forget it, absent some rebalancing. Now, if I took that same $10,000 and I said, hey, could you build the Bloomberg Barclays aggregate for me? That would be a totally different proposition. First, now we're talking about over 10,000 securities instead of the roughly 500. Many of them never trade, literally ever. And those that do, it's not that easy to just walk into your local brokerage and buy them. But let's say you navigated that and the fact that companies often issue 1 or 2 share classes of stock. They may have hundreds of different bonds, but you navigated all that and created something that looked and felt like the Barclays Ag. Fast forward a year, what happens? 20% of your bonds have matured. And now you're sitting on a pile of cash that you need to turn around and go and reinvest, leading to more time, more cost, and ultimately the bottom line that it's very hard to replicate fixed income indices. The second point is even if you could, we would argue that the index isn't necessarily designed in an optimal way. That is, because when you think about buying an index, what are you doing in fixed income? You are lending money to every one of the line items, every country, every company in that index. And how do they determine the weights of those different line items? It's by how much debt they have. So put yourselves in the shoes of a banker for a moment. If you had 10 borrowers in front of you, would you pick the person who had the most debt as the first choice without doing additional research? No, of course not, right? You'd provide additional screens, look at their credit score, and make sure that you got to get paid back. And that's why we believe being active as you're investing in fixed income can not only help boost returns by making sure you get your money back, but also reduce risk. I feel like a lot of folks conflate the idea that passive can mean less risk. Well, if you look at something again like the Bloomberg Ag, over the last 10, 15 years, you've seen that duration increase by over 2 years. That means more than 60% higher. Interest rate risk or duration is exactly that, right? Risk. So by being active and taking thoughtful duration decisions, you can better manage both your risk and your return. Finally, this last one can be a little wonky, but it's actually a really important one as to why fixed income managers can outperform on an active basis. Many of the participants or investors in bonds are not buying bonds to maximize their profit. Think about insurance companies, pensions, central banks. They make up more than half of the fixed income investors, and they're buying bonds for other reasons, right? An insurance company or pension wants to offset liabilities in the future. Let's take the central bank, the Fed, as an example. They were buying bonds, right? And now they're letting them roll off their balance sheet with a pretty transparent approach. So if you're aware of these dynamics, you can take advantage of some of the opportunities that they present. So this is a topic near and dear to our heart, of course, at PIMCO. If you want to explore this topic in greater detail, please engage with our advisor playbook, reach out to me or our team, or of course, connect with your local PIMCO account manager. Thank you.